Hey, Monday. Hey there. I'm Bobby Klink. If you don't know me, I'm the attorney and online entrepreneur behind Your Online Genius. And wanted to say happy President's Day to you if you're here in the States and celebrating. I wanted to come in today and talk about something that really kind of drives me nuts. And don't worry, it's not a rant. I'm not going to just rant for the sake of ranting, but it's become a very pervasive problem in the online space that people expect instant results. People expect, I'm going to start a business today and I'm going to be making money in no time. And that mindset, that mentality is part of the problem. And, I wanted to talk about it briefly, and I wanted to kind of break that myth and kind of, bust it, because quite honestly, this is something that we need to get past if we are going to be successful as entrepreneurs. So, I wanted to start by talking generally about, where this comes from and, what the notion is behind it. Well, one of my mentors, James Wedmore, was talking recently. I was listening to him, and he was talking about how when he first got into the online business, literally the first ad he saw was like, if you've got a computer, you've got an ATM machine. It was basically saying, hey, if you have a computer and you have an internet connection, that computer becomes a cash machine. It's just going to start pumping money and giving you money all the time. And so that was kind of the reality of what people were selling to people for a long time. They were saying, look, if you've got an internet connection, you've got a business. And that was it. I mean, that was literally what people were being sold. And that was always BS. And you don't hear that as much now. I mean, you don't hear people promising, that you're going to get, start making tons of money, $10,000 in a week or something like that. You don't hear those explicit claims. And I say that. You hear some of that in the bro marketing space, as my Facebook ads person said. That's the space where you see Lamborghinis and private jets as the images. So they'll kind of sell you some of that stuff, but most entrepreneurs won't. But there is a more kind of subtle version of this that you see, and you'll see it. Part of it is I guess, good natured, right? So some thought leaders will have, I don't want to say contest, but they'll ask a question that's like, hey, if you had to start over, what would you do in the first 7 days or in the first 30 days or something like that? And they ask those questions of people who are successful and who have built huge businesses often. And so those people will give advice and they'll say, hey, here's what I would do. And so what can come of that is people make it seem like it's easy. Like, hey, after 30 days, I can have a business up and running. And I was actually talking about this with some of my friends at a mastermind of people who are at the multiple six-figure level already recently. And we all kind of had this conclusion. Look, if you took our businesses away today, took everything away, we could rebuild, right? We know we have the skills, we would know what to do. We would kind of have the insights about how to do it, et cetera, and we could just start acting. But when you're first starting out, you're not at that place. And that's what we all agreed about. So I will find people who are, in an online course, for example, and they have no website. They have no email list. They don't have anything set up to get an email, to start collecting emails yet. And they think they're going to launch a course in, say, 30 days. You're not. I mean, I don't want to say that. You could, but are you going to launch it successfully in 30 days? Probably not. That's just a reality, right? Because you have to start doing things like creating content, which partly means you have to figure out what content are you going to create? Who are you going to create it for? What does your ideal customer want? I mean, what do they want to hear? Where are they? How do you connect with them? What's your messaging? And all of that is an iterative process. And once you've got all that figured out, then you got to figure out, hey, what's the product I'm going to sell? And how am I going to market it? And how am I going to do all of these other things? And there is a lot that has to be done if you're going to build a successful business. So let me just dispel any myth right now. If you're starting from scratch, you are not going to have a successful business in 30 days. If anyone has given you that impression and done it explicitly, you should not listen to them because they're not being honest with you. But if you've gotten that impression by kind of things that people say, I want to tell you that's not the case. And I can give you my own story. My own situation to give you a sense of what really was involved. I started my business, like I launched my website and started building my list in about August of 2017. That's when I first started building. And August of 2017, I should say, I had my law firm business and I had a law firm list, but that was separate. I'm talking about my online business specifically. And so about August of 2017, I started. And I thought, hey, I can do this. I know better than most people. And so I started building a list. I started spending money on Facebook ads. I built a website. I did all that stuff, launched a course, etc. But let me tell you, I didn't really start making money until 8 months later. And could I have shortened that up? Yes. If I would have invested in mentors, if I would have invested in more courses, I probably could have shortened that course up or that period up. But I honestly believe that when you are starting a new venture and you don't yet have your messaging nailed and you don't yet have a list and you don't yet have any of those things, you should expect it's about a 6-month runway. That's where you're going to be looking at before you're really going to hit your stride. And even at 6 months, you're still going to be, making adjustments, and you're still going to have to be making those things. But there are a lot of things that you have to do to set your business up to succeed, set up the foundation. So again, there's the basic stuff about like setting up a website. A lot of people spend way too much time on that. I'll be honest with you. I know people who will spend a year or more trying to get the perfect website at the beginning. That's a mistake. You should launch a website. It doesn't have to be perfect when you first launch. You should launch it. And then you have to start building an email list, which means you have to start figuring out your messaging, testing things, seeing what works. And unless you want to dump a lot of money into Facebook ads, you have to be doing regular content every single week. And that means some kind of substantive content, like something on your website. So whether it's a Facebook, not a Facebook, a blog post, a video, a podcast, something like that, that's substantive to really start building up content that you can use. But then you're also going to have to do social media stuff and have a social media strategy. Maybe it's Facebook Lives, maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's Pinterest, maybe it's all of the above, but you got to figure all that out. And you've got to start executing. And guess what? You're going to try it. It's not going to work. So you're going to have to pivot. And then you're going to pivot some more. And then it's going to take you some time to really start hitting your stride. And then once you get there, you'll say, okay, well, now what am I going to sell? Hopefully you had an idea what you're going to sell as you were doing all this process, but it may change. So again, I had to change what I was selling because I listened to people who were my ideal customer who told me they wanted something different than I thought they wanted. And so I had to pivot there. And a lot of people have to do that too. And so you have to do that. And once you have the right offer, then you have to work on your marketing and your messaging and how do you sell it and how do you get people to realize that they actually need and want what you have to offer. And so when you start thinking about that, that's a lot of stuff that has to happen. It's not going to happen overnight. And we need to stop believing it's going to happen overnight. And I wanted to do this video because I'm in these groups and I will see people who want to give up with their content strategy after a few weeks because they're not getting traction. Guess what? It takes a while to get traction. I've disclosed this. The first 3 months that I had my podcast, so each month, I did not crack 200 downloads total. Again, I probably didn't launch it right. I didn't have the right mindset when I launched it, but whatever. I mean, that is the reality. I had a very small list, and so I didn't do that. And when you consider that I was coming out weekly, that means that I was getting less than 50 downloads on each episode. When you consider the fact that I downloaded it on my phone, my wife downloaded on hers, I had my father-in-law, I had a lot of people like family who were doing it. It gives you a sense. It took some time. Well, I crossed 200 downloads on a single episode on the day it's released. Normally I'm up near, 3 to 4 on release day. So you can see that's the kind of time, thing that can happen, but that took me over a year. It took me over a year to get to that point where I really have some real traction and I'm doing it. And if I would have given up after, say, 6 weeks, I never would have gotten there. And so I want to dispel this notion that you should be seeing a lot of traction in the first few months, because I think that the folks out there who are making you and everyone else believe that are doing you a disservice, because the reality is that you could get traction. You just have to keep showing up. Literally, the trick to winning at the entrepreneurship game is to keep showing up. Keep showing up consistently for months, quite honestly, for years. And I've heard so many people talk about this. I think it was like literally Rachel Hollis talked about the fact that she's written a ton of books and most of them kind of flopped. And it was only after a while that she started to get success. But I've heard so many people talk about this concept that you just have to keep showing up. And you keep showing up. You do lives when no one is there live. You do your videos. You basically put it on your schedule and you say, this has to be done. And over time, it starts to build and it starts to build and then it starts to snowball and it starts to snowball. And so you've got to be willing to put in the time, the effort, and candidly, the money, right? Because you're going to have expenses during that first 6 months when you are not going to yet be making money. And so if you're not willing to spend any money, it's going to be really tough. I mean, you're going to have to spend money on a website. You're going to have to spend money on software for sending emails, for doing those kinds of things. So you've got to be willing to invest a little bit. And so you've got to have some money. Some money as a runway. And I want people to actually know that and understand that. And so once you have that understanding, you can start to say, okay, I'm going to methodically put things together. I'm going to start creating stuff. I'm going to see what sticks and I'm going to go about this, create content on a regular basis, do my social media, whatever your social media strategy is, engage in that for an extended period of time. And again, you may have to pivot. You may decide this isn't working. Let me try something else. Test messaging, see what works, start building your list before you have anything to sell, see what works, talk to the people on your list about what they want, how can you serve them, what are their needs, what are their questions, etc. And then if you do that and set those foundations right, guess what? When it comes time to launch a scalable product, whether it's a course, a membership, a group coaching program, anything that's like one to many, you're going to be in much better shape because you'll already have your foundation set. And once your foundations are set, your focus when it comes time to launching that product is in whatever the product is, create a great product and create a great marketing strategy for that product based on what you already know. And so, like I said, I just wanted to come in here realistically and tell you, don't expect success in 30 days. It's not going to happen. Don't expect that you're going to get people following your content right away and downloading. And look, do some people have success? Of course they do. But most people don't. Most people that you think of as overnight successes have been toiling away for a year, 2 years, who knows how long. And then all of a sudden, boom. And I've explained it to a lot of people. It's a hockey stick. You're kind of going along, and then boom, it peaks up. And that's definitely what happened in my business. And so be willing to put in the time to get to that hockey stick. Don't give up before it curves up. And that's my call to action to you today, to build your business, build the foundations, and put in the time over the long haul. And then you'll be ready to scale. If you would like to join other online entrepreneurs who have this mindset, I'd love for you to join my free online community. It's called the Online Genius Community. We talk about this, my podcast, the legal stuff, which I can help you with, et cetera. And so we're in there kind of as entrepreneurs who are viewing this as something for the long haul. You can join. There's a link in the description here, but you just go to youronlinegenius.com/community. It'll get you there, and then you can join me there absolutely free. That's it for today. I'll be back on Wednesday with a legal kind of tip or lesson, and then Friday with a mindset issue. So that's the schedule going forward, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon Eastern time. If you want to mark it in the calendar and join me live, obviously you can watch these recordings as well. But that's it for now. I hope you have a great week. Talk to you later.